Joining us now, entertainment attorney Tre Lovell, to talk more about this case and the legal ramifications of it. Tre, good morning to you. Does Diddy have a case here?
Good morning, Marnie. Nice to be here. Well, it's questionable. I think that what your audience needs to understand from a general perspective is that anybody has the right to do a documentary or write a book about a famous person, about a celebrity, or a matter of public interest without that person's permission based upon the First Amendment and freedom of speech. However, there are certain exceptions. You can't defame that person, publish facts that are defamatory, negative towards that person. You can't go out and steal private, non-published material. And you can't use footage that is owned by somebody under some type of copyright protection. So the real question in this case comes, are one of those three exceptions applicable, and how did the producers get this footage?
Right, so they'll have to make their case in court. What are the legal obligations for Netflix and any other company looking to make a documentary to obtain and then air that footage? I mean, what needs to be signed or what agreement needs to be made beforehand?
So Netflix needs to make sure that all the rights are controlled by the producer before they assign it to Netflix. And this often is in writing. It's an assignment of copyright-owned material and other private confidential material. But Netflix is going to go through a number of compliance steps to make sure that this footage wasn't stolen, that the producers had the legal authority, that it was properly licensed, and they have the right to distribute it, across the media in perpetuity. So, it really comes down to what the producers did in terms of how they papered, those licenses and how they papered having received the footage.
Right, and you used the word stolen. They said, this was again from the film's director, it came to us and we obtained the footage legally. Does that suggest that it may not have been stolen, according to them, but given to them by somebody who had access?
That's the really unique thing about this, is because the footage certainly was controlled and made with Combs's direction and with his participation. And the fact that and was intended at some point, from what he says, is for him to do his own documentary. So somehow for that footage to end up in the hands of Curtis Jackson or the producers is a real big question. The only way it could really have done that is if somebody had the rights to that footage and was in a position to license it to the producers, who then could do it to Netflix. Because other than that, it's within the control of Diddy Combs, and it technically should be owned by Diddy Combs.
So it will come out then, it has to, right? Who gave the footage?
Absolutely. Right now, they're keeping the anonymity of the filmmaker that gave the footage, but his or her name will be disclosed. Right. It is a pivotal matter in this, who it was and the auspices and the circumstances that governed that licensing and that transferring the footage to the producers.
And I mean, you talk about defamation. I mean, his name has been dragged through the dirt through his trial and everything that happened and his conviction that has then subsequently taken place. Does that water down his legal clout to fight this?
It certainly does on that front, because the argument is, hey, there's no damages. Even if he was defamed, there are false facts. People have already made up their mind about Diddy. His name's been dragged through the mud. He's been through the trial. And whatever else is said, even if it's untrue, isn't going to have any causal effect, on his reputation, on his damages. So that certainly would affect it, but there certainly can be an argument made of why it may enhance and or create some type of damage.
I don't know Diddy's financial situation. I'm guessing it has been diminished through this process. Might his team also be looking for a payday from Netflix?
Absolutely. The money situation with Diddy, I'm sure, is a big concern. And Netflix, may not have an appetite for a big fight on this. Maybe there can be some type of resolution. But the real interesting thing about this is Diddy's really hurt by this, because they have taken footage that he had created purportedly, and they're using it and making profits off of it. So he's losing out on that. But also, he no longer has the ability to make his own documentary, since the footage is already out there. And the marketplace has really slimmed down now. So the novelty of what he wanted to show, to really exploit his own story, is largely gone for him. So it's a big situation for Diddy. He's suffered a lot through this.
Yeah, interesting. Tre, thank you as always.